So hello everyone, namaskar. Friends, in today's session we are going to discuss reading comprehension. Okay, and there are many types of questions used to be asked every year in reading comprehension. But in today's session we will learn how to use elimination technique to tackle the question related to reading comprehension. Okay, so this session is going to be very crucial and important for you if you are going to appear this year, means 2026. Okay. so 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 these are the type of question that every year used to ask. Okay, so there are some question based on message. Okay, there are some question based on message based question in reading comprehension, crux based question, information based question, implication based question, inference based question, and assumption based question. So these are the type of question that every year UPSC used to ask in reading comprehension. Okay, so we will see in different sessions each one of these type of question. Okay, so what is message based question? You might have seen the question, what most logical and rational in message conveyed by the passage, okay, or conveyed by the author, or what author actually, what message author want to convey to the readers. Okay, so these types of question are based on the passage which is message type. And now crux of the passage based question, crux, what is crux of the passage? Okay, information based question. So information based questions are little bit very easy because questions are directly from the passage. If you read the passage, you will get information over there and just select your answer. And also there are also some here corollary based question. What is corollary based question? Okay, we will see when we see information based question within the same session. We will also see what is corollary and how to find the corollary based on the passage. What is the literal meaning of the corollary and how to apply those meaning in the passage to find your correct choice. Now implication based question. Implication is what is the result, what is the outcome, what is the effect of certain core idea, core argument that is there in the passage. Okay, so whatever the author has discussed in the passage, what is the effect of that? So effect of that will also be there in the passage, may be directly stated, may not be directly stated. Okay, so we have to see this in different video. Now inference based question, every year inference based question is to be asked. Okay, so these are not directly mentioned in the passage. Okay, these are indirectly, and these are the conclusion based question, like what most logical and most rational inference can be done from the passage, what can be concluded from the passage. So this is the inference means logical conclusion from the passage, what you can conclude. Okay, so this is again is not directly mentioned in the passage. You have to read the passage, understand the passage, and you have to draw the hidden meaning of the passage. Okay, now assumption based. So this is also not directly stated in the passage. So what is assumption in simple word? If you know, before writing this passage, what was going on there in the mind of the author. So लिखने से पहले author ने क्या सोच रहा था, author क्या सोच रहा था, ठीक है, उसके mind में क्या चल रहा था, ठीक है. तो those are the assumption. So now question assumption bit, what assumption can be drawn from the passage, what author assumes, like this. Okay, so these are the main types of question that every year UPSC used to ask in CSAT paper 2. Now if you see so if you see from 2020 to 2025, so from message based question in 2020 there was 4 question, in 21 2 question, in 22 1 question, in 23 again the number of question based on message was increased in 22. So since in 2022 CSAT paper was very difficult, so passages were also difficult little bit, and the question from reasoning and mathematics were also very difficult. Okay, now in 2024 there was 3 questions from message based. Okay, but in 2025 in last year exam there was 8 question from this point in this topic. Okay, message based question. Okay, now if you see crux based question, so slowly the importance of crux based question is being increasing year by year, so you must be very careful. Okay, now if you see there is fluctuation of number of questions based on the information means direct questions from the passage. You don't have to apply your extra mind, you don't have to think extra, because whatever information based question is, that information is directly there in the passage. Okay, information based question means fact based question. Okay, some idea in the passage author might have discussed, and the question are directly from those idea. Okay, so importance of direct question is decreasing slowly. Okay, so don't mind. No one can guarantee whether next year in 2026 whether question, how many question will be there from information based. So UPSC exam in is uncertainty, have very uncertain things. Okay, nothing can be guarantees, everything is uncertain. Okay, if you see implication based question, so every year 1 to 2 question was there, but in 25 there was no question based on implication. Okay. If you see inference based questions, every year almost, if you take average of this, so 4 to 5 question 3 to 5 question was there every year. You can 6, 4, 1, 2, 4 and 0. So 25 in 25 means last year there was no question based on inference. Okay, and assumption based, every year importance is importance of assumption based question is increasing day by day, means year by year. So in 2020 if you see, there was 11 question, in 21 9 question, 22 4 question, in 23 there was 7 question, again in 24 11 question, and 25 13 question. So you cannot assume or you cannot say that next year in 26 how many question will be there, number of question will be same or more than 13. Okay, so you have to prepare all the topics, all the types of question. You must prepare all the types of question to be in very confident position to solve the question of reading comprehension. Now now suppose you have art background and you have very fear in your mind as far as mathematics is concerned, reasoning is concerned. So this session is going to be very very important for you. Okay, so because if you know the concept related to these topics, okay, in reading comprehension, you can easily tackle the question with 95% plus accuracy. Okay, so in passage based questions are very easy, and most of the student whom I interacted used to say that, sir, there is no confirmation whether the option that I have selected is correct or not. So there is no certainty, but after watching this session, you will be in very sure position whether your answer is right or wrong. Okay, and you will be doing the question with almost 95 plus accuracy, 95% plus accuracy. Okay, so don't worry about that. Now in this session we are going to use elimination techniques to solve the question of RC. Okay, so we in next other session we will see those type of question. Each one, there will be one session of each type. So we will learn the tools technique based on each individual type, and over there also we will be doing some previous year question, how to apply. We will learn the technique and then apply in the previous year question. Okay, so this session is going to be very very important. Now we will learn elimination technique, how to eliminate the option which is not correct, okay, to reach our correct choices. So so there are 5 tools in elimination method. So first tool is beyond the scope of the passage, partially correct option, contextually wrong option, and true in real world but not suggested by the passage, but not aligned with the information given in the passage. This is 4. Extreme option, we should always avoid extreme option because there is nothing called absolute. Okay, so we will see one by one about these tools. So first one is beyond the scope of the passage. So what kind of information is there in the option which is beyond the scope of the passage? So you can see here, these option introduces new information, new idea, new argument which is not discussed in the passage. So these types of options should be eliminated. But how to identify these? Okay, the options sound factually correct, okay, but not supported by the passage or not aligned with the passage, not aligned with the argument in the passage. Okay, So what is use of this option? It divert the attention from the core argument. Okay, something has been said in the passage, but in the option something different has been said, new idea, new things, new argument. Okay, so these types of options will be eliminated based on beyond the scope of the passage. Look, we have to answer the question based on passage only. We shouldn't require outside knowledge of GS or anything else. Okay, whatever whatever information is there in the passage, we have to stick within that boundary, and within that boundary, whatever information is there, we have to answer the question based on only information there in the passage. If you are not sticking to the passage, then your most likely your choices will be wrong. Okay, so we have to stick to the passage, or we have to stick to the ideas, argument or information given in the passage. Okay, so here what example, suppose topic is impact of climate change on agriculture, impact of climate change on agriculture. So you can see most of the information, most of the argument in this topic, in this passage, author might have discussed what is important. There are many importance of climate change, impact of the climate change on agriculture. Different types of impact will be there in on agriculture. Okay, but what is option? The use of electric vehicle can reduce the carbon emission. So here the core thing is what author has discussed, impact of climate change on agriculture. Okay, so argument of author is limited, stick to the agricultural only, agriculture only, but here use of electric vehicle can reduce the carbon emission. So this is the beyond the scope of the passage. This might be true in real world, out of the passage. Okay, this is true. Use of, when you use electric vehicle, carbon emission will reduce down. So this is true, but not supported by the passage, not aligned with the passage. So these types of options should be eliminated based on the tool beyond the scope of the passage. Okay, now second tool, that is partially correct option. Okay, partially correct option. In these types of option, suppose a statement is given in the option, so some part of that statement is related to the passage, related to the argument of the passage. Okay, but second part or rest part is not related to the passage. So in first part something has been discussed, in second part some new information has been discussed, new ideas has been discussed. So this option is partially correct. Okay, so if option is partially correct, not completely aligned with the passage, so these types of options should be eliminated outrightly. So these options contain a mix of correct and incorrect information. So how to identify? First half of the passage may be true, but second half of distort the passage real meaning, core argument. So they are the tricky and misleading, so we should avoid this. You can see example, role of women in leadership. Okay, so this is the topic, role of women in leadership. So in this topic, in this message, author might have discussed all the positive things, okay, about the women in leadership role, but in the option women are increasingly taking leadership role. So this part is aligned with the passage. Okay, but they lack the skill to succeed. Okay, so this is not aligned with the passage. So first half is aligned with the passage and rest are not aligned with the passage. So these types of option we should outrightly reject. Okay, first part is correct, but second part is contradictory and unsupported by the passage. Okay, now now if you see contextually wrong option. So this is the third tool in elimination technique. So contextually wrong option, what is this? These options misinterpret the core idea of the passage. Okay, in the passage author want to convey something different, some meanings. Okay, but in the option some other inference or adjustment has been there. So those types of options should be eliminated. Okay, how to identify? The option twists the meaning of the key argument in the passage. It ignores the author's tone, intent, okay, viewpoint or core idea. So these are not supported or aligned with the passage. So these types of options should be eliminated based on contextually wrong option. Like if you see a passage, importance of renewable energy. So how many importance are there for renewable energy? Author might have discussed each and everything. Okay, but here renewable energy is unreliable. Why author is discussing? Because renewable energy is reliable and it is very important. Okay, but in the option renewable energy is unreliable. So this is contradictory to the argument given by the author in the passage. So these types of options we should eliminate. So passage highlight the potential of renewable energy. So it is contextually wrong. Okay, passage importance of renewable energy. So in the passage author have highlighted what is the importance, what is significance of renewable energy, but in this option it is unreliable. So this is negatively worded. So these types of options should be eliminated based on the tool contextually wrong option. Okay, now if you see true in real world but incorrect in according to the passage, according to the argument in the passage, according to the author. So these options are factually true in real world but not supported by the passage, not aligned with the passage. Like how to identify the option aligned with the general knowledge but contradict the passage main argument, core argument. Okay, so जनरल नॉलेज के बेस पे वो सही हो सकता है, बट बेस्ड ऑन द पैसेज दैट इज नॉट सपोर्टेड, दैट इज नॉट अलाइन विद द पैसेज, दैट इज नॉट अलाइन विद द कोर आर्गुमेंट इन द पैसेज. Okay, so real like suppose in the passage there is argument or idea that sun rises in the west. Okay, the passage what author is saying, sun rises in the west. Generally, you know, in real world, in universally, what you know, sun rises in the east. So you have to answer the question based on the passage only. So if there is a question, sun rises in which direction? Sun rises in the east, sun rises in the west, rises in the south, sun rises in the north. So which option is correct? Sun rises in the west, because this is has been discussed in the passage. So we have to stick to the passage only. We stick to the information given in the passage, and based on those information we have to answer. Okay, no outside knowledge is required to tackle the reading comprehension question. Everything is there. So this is the power of reading comprehension. Okay, you don't have to study. So you don't have to work hard to tackle these questions. What is required is, you know, if you are Hindi, you know language and words and meanings of Hindi. You have the language, maybe Hindi or maybe English. Okay, whatever your medium is there, you must have good command over that language. So you must be able to understand, comprehend the passage clearly, neatly. If you are not able to understand the passage, if you don't have command for English language or Hindi language, you will not be able to understand the passage completely, fully. So you will not be able to answer the question. So this is only thing is required. To take up the question from RC, you don't require outside knowledge. Okay, this is the power of reading comprehension. So not general knowledge but contradict from the passage. UPSC expect you to stick to the passage perspective only. Okay, not your knowledge. Okay, so if you see a passage, benefit of organic farming, the heading of the passage is benefit of the organic farming. So in this passage author might have discussed many kind of benefit of organic farming. Author has discussed what is potential of the organic farming. But if you see the option, conventional farming is more profitable than organic farming. So this is what, this may be true in real world but not aligned with the passage. Okay, so these types of option should be eliminated. So this may be true in real world but passage promote organic farming. Okay, so this option is blatantly incorrect. Okay, now if you see in reading comprehension, extreme words often indicate over exaggeration. So now we are seeing extreme words. We should do that. If these words are there in any option, okay, so we should avoid those options. In 98% cases, though the option consisting of these words is not correct. Okay, because what author mostly in every passage or every article, what is there after reading the passage, you will realize that author in the passage have balanced idea. Okay, So we must take those options which is balanced, moderate. Okay, author never uses harsh languages. Okay, but this is not every time. The word consisting of these options is not every time wrong. It depends on the author. Okay, whether if author has used harsh languages, then these types of options might be correct. Okay, based on the passage, but in 98% cases, no author uses harsh language. Always they use moderate language. Okay, so the absolute or universal, which types of word are there? Absolute or universal word. Too broad, there is no exception. Okay, so always, never, all, none, every, everybody, nobody, must, only. So these are the compulsive words. Okay, these are the extreme words. Okay, so we should avoid these those options consisting of these words. Okay, why to avoid? These words leave no room for any exceptions. Okay, making them unlikely to be valid assumption or inference that can be drawn from the passage. Okay, so we should avoid, remember these words and avoid. Okay, now second point is strong opinionated word. Okay, two extreme lacking nuance. Okay, so these are the strongly opinionated word: absolutely, definitely, certainly, okay, totally, okay, completely. So these words are strongly opinionated word. So we should avoid the option consisting of these words, because you know nothing is absolute in this universe. Okay, so how can any idea be absolute? Okay, is it possible that I'm only teacher for CSAT? No, there are teachers for CSAT and they are also doing good. Okay, so if I say that you will be able to qualify your CSAT paper only when you attend my classes. Okay, so what kind of statement is there? Only, I'm using only. So this is a compulsive thing that I'm sharing to you. So this is not so. Okay, okay, so these types of words should be avoided. Now, so superlative word: best, worst, greatest, most, least, perfect. Okay, these words, the option consisting of these words also should be avoided. Like, why to avoid? These words imply extreme comparison. Okay, extreme comparison, which is usually not inferred or assumed in any passage or in any idea or in any article. Okay, so the option consisting of these words should be avoided. Okay, they are most likely to be incorrect. If you see now how to use these in RC questions when eliminating extreme options. So scan for extreme word. First of all, you should read all the passages as fast as you can and just see whether the option consisting of these extreme word you can outrightly do wrong. Okay, so and answer choices include word like always, never, must, only. Be cautious. Okay, they are most likely to be incorrect option. Okay, unless and until these types of word, these types of languages has been used in the passage by the author. Okay, so check if the passage supports such a strong claim or not. If not, then just avoid it. If yes, then you must cautious and read the passage carefully. Okay, look for moderate or logical alternative that is there in the option. Okay, so correct answer often use word like some, many, likely, possibly. These are the moderate words. Okay, so the option having these words, okay, are most likely to be correct choices. Now, fifth tool, extreme option. Okay, so these options are absolute or rigid, uses absolute or rigid languages, leaves no room for exception. So how to identify? Look for extreme words of these. Okay, UPSC prefer a balanced and moderate conclusion. Okay, not a harsh conclusion. Okay, not rigid conclusion. So suppose there is a passage, role of technology in education. What is role of technology in education? How technology is changing the way we learn. Okay, so option is that technology will completely replace the traditional classroom. So this is only role of technology in education. Is it possible? So what is this is using option is just saying, just doing extreme claim, okay, that technology will completely remove the classroom study or classroom program. Okay, so this is not possible. So this is extreme argument. Okay, this is not possible. So we should avoid these options having extreme claim. Okay, so now if you see, just summarize the technique that we have discussed. First, beyond the scope of the passage, introduces new information not discussed in the passage, so irrelevant, okay, not related to the passage. Extreme option, usual rigid words like always, never, only, all, none. So the option having these words should be avoided. Too rigid to be correct option. Partially correct option. First part is correct and second part is not correct, that is distort the meaning of the passage. So this is misleading. Okay, contextually wrong option, misinterpret the author's intention, author the core idea. Okay, so incorrect argument. Okay, true in real world. Okay, factually true but not supported by the passage. Okay, something has been said by the author in the passage, but in the option something different ideas or new information has been discussed. So these types of option we should eliminate. Not aligned with the passage. Okay, so this now based on this, if you see the passage, we will do some exercise, and after doing some exercise we will go to the previous year question. Okay, so what is passage? The Indian education system need to focus more on skill based learning. Indian education system need to focus more on skill based learning rather than rote memorization. What does it mean? It means Indian education system is not focusing on skill based education, school based education. Okay, so a curriculum that emphasizes critical thinking and creativity can help student adapt to the rapidly changing job market. Okay, now which of the option can be inferred from the passage, or what inference can be drawn from the passage? So this is inference based question, and inference is not directly mentioned in the passage. So inference means simple conclusion, what can be concluded from the passage, or what conclusion can be drawn from the passage, what logical conclusion can be drawn from the passage. Inference means, here inference means logical conclusion. Okay, inference means logical conclusion, what logically we can deduce from the passage. Okay, so first is Indian policymakers should prioritize vocational training over the traditional schooling. So in this passage nothing has been said about vocational training. Which kind of skill development is being? Skill based learning, not vocational training. So this is beyond the scope of the passage. Okay, the passage talk about skill based learning, not vocational training. Okay, now option B, critical thinking can only be developed through, only, it is using extreme word, so we should avoid this. So this is not correct, this is not correct. Okay, the current Indian education system rely heavily on rote memorization, so this is aligned. Okay, because that's why now author is saying that Indian education system should focus more on skill based learning rather than rote memorization. It means currently Indian education system rely heavily on rote learning. Okay, ratification. Okay, just see, so moderate and directly supported by the passage. So but directly supported by the passage, but not directly given in the passage. Okay, we should draw the meaning, we should draw the conclusion based on the idea that has been discussed in the passage. Okay, now a student who excel in creative subject will dominate in future job market. This is contextually wrong. Okay, no such claim has been made by the author in the passage, so we should avoid it. So your correct answer is option C. Okay, so C is the right answer. Okay, just see the new passage. Renewable energy sources like solar and wind are gaining popularity due to environmental concern, right? However, a complete shift from fossil fuel is challenging due to infrastructure limitation. कहने का मतलब यह है कि renewable energy, solar and wind are gaining popularity due to environmental concern. However, complete shift, fossil fuel से complete shift possible नहीं है, because we don't have such technology, such infrastructure to shift directly from fossil fuel to renewable energy. Okay, so now which of the following assumption which of the following is an assumption from the passage. Now again, assumption is not something that is not directly mentioned in the passage. Okay, we have to draw from the passage what author was thinking before writing this passage. Okay, so fossil fuel will never be replaced by renewable, will never be replaced. ऐसा तो कह नहीं रहा है, कह रहा है fuel is challenging due to infrastructure. वैसे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर उस हिसाब से नहीं है, दैट्स वाई फॉसिल फ्यूल से कंप्लीटली स्विच ओवर करना पॉसिबल नहीं है. ओके, बट नेवर इट इज यूजिंग extreme bond, never. So this option make rigid, so this is not correct. Now renewable energy adoption is hindered by infrastructure issue. This is directly mentioned. You can deduce from this statement. Okay, what is the main obstacle in adoption of renewable energy? Because of there is no infrastructure. Okay, no technology. So this is aligned with the passage. Okay, likely renewable energy is the only solution. देखो only solution. This option is pulling you to extreme. Okay, so this is extreme claim. Okay, extreme idea. Government, so this is not correct. Okay, government are not investing enough in renewable energy infrastructure. So this is beyond the scope of the passage. This might be true, but these things are not been discussed in the passage. So this is beyond the scope of the passage. So we should avoid this. Okay, so correct option is option B. So option B is the right answer. Okay, now if you see the passage, regular physical exercise not only improve the physical health but also enhances mental well-being. Means regular physical exercise enhances your physical plus mental well-being increases. Okay, studies show that moderate exercise can reduce the stress and anxiety. Studies shows that a moderate exercise can reduce stress and anxiety. So this is not extreme claim that if you do exercise, moderate exercise, so stress and anxiety will be completely reduced. This is not author saying. Okay, here possibility can reduce, may or may not be. Okay, so which of the following is supported by the passage? Okay, so exercise is beneficial for both body and mind. Yeah, directly you can deduce from the passage. People who don't exercise suffer from mental health problem. Okay, this is the extreme claim. Okay, which is not discussed in the passage. So this is correct choices. Mental health improvement is only possible. Now again extreme claim, and this is also beyond the scope of the passage because therapy is not discussed in the passage. So this is beyond the scope of the passage, and also only possible. This is using extreme bar. So you can eliminate this option based on two tools. First one beyond the scope of the passage, and fifth one extreme bars. Okay, so you should avoid this. So this is not correct. Okay, yoga is the best form of exercise for mental well-being. So this may be true in real world, but not discussed in the passage. Okay, so for mental being, most of the people used to do yoga, pranayam. Okay, so this is two things, but not related to the passage, not aligned with the information given in the passage. So we should eliminate this option. So this is beyond the scope of the passage. So we should eliminate. So exercise is beneficial for both body and mind. This is directly supported by the passage. Okay, this is directly supported by the passage. Okay, now next passage, the rise of e-commerce. The rise of e-commerce platform has transformed the retail industry. Okay, the rise of e-commerce platform like Amazon, Flipkart, and other online platform have transformed the retail industry. Okay, how? While online shopping offer convenience and variety, it has also led to the decline of a small local business. Okay, right. Which of the following is an inference from the passage? So based on the information given in the passage, what logical conclusion we can draw? Inference means logical conclusion. Now logical conclusion is not directly mentioned in the passage. Okay, so you have to deduce, you have to draw, you have to conclude something from the passage only, not outside the knowledge. So e-commerce platform have completely replaced traditional markets. So completely, so this is extreme word. Okay, completely too rigid. So this should be avoided, right? Now, local business are struggling due to the convenience of online. So this is something moderate and supported by the passage. So we will see here. Online platform offer convenience. This is true, but their impact on economy is positive. Here, what is saying, local businesses are declining, so impact will be negative on the economy. But here it is saying that positive in the economy. So first part is aligned with the passage, but second part is not stated in the passage, so this is not correct. So option C is not correct. D, the government should be ban. Okay, this is harsh step that you take. Okay, ban the e-commerce platform to protect the local business. Okay, so this is the beyond the scope of the passage. Author is not discussing about policy or involving government in their discussion. So this is beyond the scope of the passage. So only one option is there, which is moderate, and logically you can conclude this. Okay, local businesses are struggling due to the convenience of online classes. Okay, so now the next question, this is passage. There are reports that some of the antibiotics sold in the market, there are reports that some of the antibiotics are sold in the market are fed to poultry and other livestock for growth promoter. I know in poultry farm or in fishery, okay, people used to inject some kind of antibiotic so that to hasten the growth, okay, to maximize their profit, and this activity is going to harm to the person or to the animal who consume that. Okay, so who used to consume chicken? We people. Okay, so something that chemical is going to harm the human health also. Okay, so overusing these substances can create superbug pathogens. And now what is superbug? Pathogens that are resistant to multiple drugs and could pass along the human. Okay, now mindful of that, some farming companies have stopped using these antibiotics, these drugs, okay, to make chicken gain weight faster. Okay, since Denmark banned antibiotic growth promoter in 1990, the major pork exporters say it is producing more pigs and animals get fewer disease. So they are not using antibiotic growth promoter antibiotic. Still they are producing more pigs and animals are getting fewer diseases. Okay, so which of the following statement reflect the critical message that can be critical message conveyed by the passage? Okay, what kind of message author conveying to the reader of this passage? So we have to find out. Now, first option, people should avoid consuming the product of animal farming. Okay, so is it true? Because here they are not using growth promoter and they are producing more pigs. Okay, and animals are getting fewer disease. So this option cannot be true. Okay, people should avoid. Okay, though this is moderate, but this is not the only condition. Okay, foods of animal origin should be replaced with, this is the strong claim. Okay, this is the strongly worded claim, plant origin. We shouldn't replace completely. Okay, animal food by plant food. So this is also not correct. Using antibiotic on animals should be banned. This is also not correct, because if animal become sick, then to cure animals we have to use antibiotic. Okay, even though when we fall sick, then doctor used to give us antibiotic. Okay, so this is also not correct. Antibiotics should only be used to treat disease. Now here words are only, but if you deduce the meaning of this passage, so this is what author want to convey to the reader. Antibiotic shouldn't be banned. Okay, antibiotic shouldn't be used for to animal completely. Antibiotic should be used, but for what purposes? For treating disease only, because if you use for other purposes, so number of diseases will increase. Okay, and this is very harmful. Okay, so antibiotic, author is not saying that you should completely ban using antibiotic. Okay, so antibiotic you should use, okay, but only for the cheating purposes. Okay, clear? Now, if you see this passage, so many people understand the connection between solid waste management and health in terms of the consequences of unattended heaps of dry garbage which become home for flies and other vermins. Okay. However, now this is one information that author is saying, and now from here another argument is starting. However, there is another aspect that is not well understood. What is that? What happened when unscientific solid waste management combined with the poor drainage and dumping of untreated sewage into drains which are meant to carry storm water during the rainy season. Okay, the result is choked drain. Okay, which are the full of stagnant water being breeding ground for mosquitoes, resulting in a spread of waterborne disease. Now, in the context of India, which one of the following statement best reflect the critical message that can be drawn from the passage? So, which one of these is the critical message? So, if you see the option in India, the drainage network are not separate from the sewage or stormwater. Okay, the urban local body do not having enough resources, not talking about, this is irrelevant. In India drainage network are not separate for sewage and storm, this is not claiming. Okay, solid waste management should be integrated with the maintenance of drainage and sewage network. This is aligned with the passage, this is moderate option. Okay, just see, bad management of solid waste and sewage system by our municipality is the reason for drinking water shortage in our city. Not talking about drinking water. Okay, so you have eliminated 3 options, so rest is your correct choice. So for this question, option C is the right answer. Okay, solid waste management, because here it has been said that unscientific solid waste management combined with the poor drainage and dumping of untreated. So solid waste, when solid waste management is integrated with the maintenance of drainage and sewage, then there will be no issue of water logging, no issue of choking of the drainage. Okay, clear? Now, now in the next passage you can see